Today we will discuss the concept of reading data from application directory. So yesterday we saw how to write the data to application directory. So today we will discuss the concept of reading data from application directory. So sometimes we do have this requirement wherein we'll have to read the data from A11. So if this is our A11, then work area acts like a mediator. Whenever we want to write data to A11 or whenever we want to read data from A11, and this is our ITAB, so our internal table. So whenever we have to read the data from application directory files, so it is just the reverse process of yesterday. What we'll do is like we will use a loop and we will move one by one record from internal table into work area, and from work area we will try to collect it into the internal tables, right? So it is just the reverse process of yesterday. So let's see how we can fetch the data from A11 directory and how to collect it into an internal table. From the internal table, again, depending on the requirement, you can pass the data to some report or to some forms or whatever it is. From the internal table, we can redirect that data again wherever they want to have, right? So today's program is read from application directory. So today's requirement is reading the data from application directory. So whenever they want us to read the data from application directory, they will give us the file format or file structure. So they will mention what are all the fields from what tables and what fields. So they will mention those information for us. So we are declaring our work area. So we are using the keyword data, begin of work area and end of work area, right? And we are having our fields here. So depending on the file structure that they give, we will define our fields. So we are having the sales document item number, validity of contract, agreement acceptance date, contract start date, and contract sign date. And we are also declaring our internal table. Because we are directly referring to work area, we use the keyword like table of, right? So like table of the above work area. So now they will give us the file name also. They will mention the name of the file. So open data set. Open data set is the keyword. So open data set, we are trying to open the file. So open data set is the keyword, and this is the name of the file. In text mode for input encoding default. So these are the two keywords. So open dataset is the keyword, in text mode for input encoding default. So if you remember, whenever we want to write the data, we have used the keyword in text mode for output encoding default. And whenever we want to read the data, we will use the keyword in text mode for input encoding default, right? So we have to remember these keywords. So we are using a do loop here, do and undo. So read data set. So we are opening the book. We are reading the book. And this is the name of the file into work area. So we are trying to read one by one record from new file into work area. We are checking our size sub or C. If size sub or C equal to 0, we are appending our work area to internal table, right? So basically we are moving one by one record from new file into work area, and from work area we are trying to collect it into the internal table. Else, if our size sub or C is not equal to 0, that means if you are not able to read the record from the my new file into work area, in that case our size sub or C will not be equal to 0. Then control will come to else condition, and we are using the keyword exit. So what this keyword will do, it will exit out of the current loop. So what is that current loop? If loop. right? So it will come out of the if loop. Again, it will try to read the next record from the new file into work area, right? If the size of was equal to 0, it will collect that, append that work area record to internal table.
Yeah, but where is the loop statement here to loop within this size abasi? Because here you have written append, right? So it will append that one record to this internal table, and it will come out of it, or what? How?
Okay, so first it will try to read the first record from my new
Yeah.
file into work area, right?
Yes.
If
Yes.
that is successful, then only
Yeah.
it will append that work area record to internal table.
Yeah.
And it will come
And
out of
then
the loop. It will come out of the loop.
yes.
If it is
Yeah.
not successful, then control will come to
Okay.
else condition and it will
Okay.
simply exit out of this loop. That means it
Okay.
will exit out of the if loop.
Okay.
And again,
Yeah.
it will try to read the second record from the
Okay.
my new file into
Okay.
work area, right?
Okay.
So if it
Got it.
is successful, then only it will collect that record into internal table.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
it is
Okay.
not
Got it.
successful, it will come out of the, it will it will come out of this if loop because of
Okay.
this exit keyword, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is like we are opening the book, reading the book, and closing the book, close data set. So close data set, and this is the name of the file. Start of selection and end of selection.
Okay.
If not, our internal table is empty. If our internal table is not empty,
We are
then we are
displaying.
using loop at internal table into work area, and we are writing one by one record from work area.
Yeah.
After writing each record, we are clearing our work area.
Okay.
If our internal table is empty, then control will directly come to else condition. It will discard all of this code. It will discard all of this code and it will directly come to else condition and it will populate this message. No records found for the given or whatever they want to, whatever message they want to display, we can display that message here in the else condition, right?
Yeah.
So basically we have to remember the keywords. How do you do the file handling? How do you write data to A11? How do you read data? How do you read the data from A11? So we have to remember these keywords and we have to mention these keywords at the time of interview, whenever we are discussing this file handling topic, right?
Yeah.
We are trying to activate our program and let's try to execute the program. So these are the 20 records that are there in the A11 file. So we are trying to write the 20 records that are there in the my new file, right?
Yeah.
So so this file handling also will be using a lot in the projects, right? So are we fine with this concept?
Yeah. It's clear.
So we will discuss one more topic today called lock objects. Lock objects. So lock objects means whenever we want to, whenever we want to update the data in master tables, whenever we want to update the data in the master tables, we will use this concept called lock objects. Whenever we want to update the data in master tables, we will create lock object And whenever we create the lock object, it will create some standard function modules called NQ and DQ, NQ and DQ. These are the standard function modules it will create. So NQ is for locking that particular record. NQ is to lock that particular record, and then we will modify the data, and then we will use the DQ function module to unlock the record. So whenever we want to update some data in the master tables, so at that time we'll be using this concept called NQ and DQ, lock objects. So they are called as lock objects. So whenever we create a lock object in SE11, we create the lock objects in the T code SE11. T code is SE11. So whenever we create the lock object in SE11, basically it will, once we activate the lock object, it will create two standard function modules. They are NQ and DQ. NQ function module is used to log that particular record. Whatever the record we want to modify, it will log that particular record, and then we'll modify that particular record, and then we'll use the standard function module DQ to unlock that particular record. One burst day-to-day example is our net banking, right? So even though I know your credentials for net banking, suppose you have logged in and you are trying to do something in your account through net banking, and if even though I know the credentials, if I try to log in at the same time, it will not allow me to log in. It will say that already you are already logged in, and it will not allow us to log in. So that is the concept of lock objects. So especially in the banking, when we are trying to access the same account from different systems or whatever it is, if different people are trying to access the same account through net banking, then it will not allow, saying that that particular record is logged or something like that. It will give some message. So that is one day-to-day example where they'll be using these lock objects. And also in SAP, whenever we have to update the data in the master tables, we will be using this lock objects concept, right? So let's see how we can work with this lock objects concept. So let's go to SE11 and let us display the vendor master table. LFA1 is the vendor master table. Let's try to display this table here. Let's go to the contents, and you can select any vendor, right? So let's take this vendor. So this particular guy, this vendor, he's having some information, right? City and district. So city, he is having Hamburg, and district, he don't have any value. So let us try to update this vendor, and with the help of lock objects, let us try to update this vendor, right? So let's go back. So this is the vendor number. So this is the vendor number. Okay, before that, what we have to do is we have to create the lock object. So first we have to create the lock object. So let's go to SE11. So whenever we want to create the lock object, we have to select the last radio button lock object, and we have to follow some naming convention. Whenever we are creating the lock objects, we have to start with E, and then it should follow with EZ or EY. So this is the naming convention we have to follow. After that, you can give any name for your lock object. So I am giving it as EZ vendor. Or you want to, yeah, you can give any name here basically. So let me give it as EZ vendor. So this is the name of our lock object because we want to apply locks on the master table LFA1 to modify a particular vendor. So let's try to create this lock object. So this is our lock object to modify vendor details, right? So under the tables tab, you can mention the table name. What is the table, on which table you want to apply the lock. So we want to apply locks on this table called LFA1. This is the table name. In this table, we want to apply locks on it for a particular vendor. So here, if you select the drop down, so here we are having, here we will select the write lock. That means whenever we want to modify the data, we want to log that particular record and we want to update the information and then we want to release the lock. So that is the whole purpose of our lock object. So we can select the lock object or write lock. So if we select write lock, what happens is like when we are in this process of modifying the data, and if somebody else is trying to update that information or trying to fetch the data or whatever it is, when they are trying to access that particular vendor, it will give a message saying that this vendor has been logged. They will get that kind of message. So basically it will not allow them to access the data while we are doing this process of modifying the data for that particular vendor, right? So are you following what I am saying?
Yeah, yes.
So basically, while we are trying to update the data of a particular vendor, we don't want others to access the data. Why? Because then it will become incorrect data, right? After our modification, then they should be able to access it. So this is the name of the table, and lock mode is write lock, and you can go to the lock parameter. So automatically, as soon as we give the table name, automatically our system it will identify the primary keys for this particular table, right? So go ahead and try to activate our lock object under this particular, because our program is there in this packet. So I will select this package name and save it and continue and continue. So here you can we have activated our lock object. So go to and you can select lock modules. Go to lock modules, and these are the standard function modules that the system has created. NQ, and this is the name of our lock object. DQ, and this is the name of the lock object. So we can use them in our program. So let's see how we can use them in our program. So now let's go to our program. So our program name is Lock Objects. Lock Objects is our program name. So here, what we are trying to do, here we will do one thing. We will ask the user to enter their choice of vendor number, and also we will ask the user to enter what's the value they want to update for city and county, right? So we will add, instead of hard coding like this, we will ask the user to give their choice of city and county. So I will give them city, vendor city, and it is of type ORT01. And when county, it is of type ORT02. So we will ask the user to give their choice of vendor number, and also we will ask the user to give the choice of city and also the county. So whatever they give in the selection screen, we'll try to update the vendor with those values. So here instead of hard coding, I can pass these, whatever the values they give in the selection screen, I can pass those values here, right? Instead of hard coding, we can pass them dynamically. Okay, so let us try to, and also we will also so I will change it to V county, and here also I will change it to V county. Instead of Van county, I will change it to V county. And one more thing we will do is go to lock modules. Let me copy the name of this function module. So let us discuss the program. So here we are asking the user to enter their choice of with the keyword parameter. We are defining our vendor. It is of type LIFNR. When city, it is of type ORT01, and V county, it is of type ORT02. This should be ORT02. So for this particular vendor, we want to update the values, whatever the values they give in the selection screen, we want to update them, update the city and the county for this particular vendor, right? So we are calling our standard function module NQ easy vendor. So this is the standard function module that the system has generated after we have activated our lock object. So we are passing our mode LFA1 equal to E. E represents lock object, right? And mandate equal to SI mandate, system mandate number. LIFNR equal to vendor number. So for the standard function module, we are passing our E represents lock object, SI mandate, and vendor number. LIFNR is the vendor number. That means for this particular vendor, whatever the vendor we give in the selection screen, for that particular vendor, it will apply the locks. So let us modify the data. Update. To modify the data, we use the keyword update. Whenever we want to update the data in the standard tables, we use the keyword update. LFA1. LFA1 is the master table. Set ORT01 equal to when city, ORT02 equal to V county, whatever the values they give in the selection screen, with these values we want to update where LIFNR equal to vendor number. So whatever the vendor number they give in the selection screen, for that particular vendor, we want to update these two values. We are checking our size sub RC. If our size sub RC equal to 0, then we want to give this message, record is updated successfully, right? And we want to call the standard function module DQ to remove the lock. And again, mode LFA1 equal to E represents lock object, and mandate equal to system mandate. LIFNR is the vendor number, right? If see, we are doing this operation, update operation. If this update operation is successful, then only our size of RC will be equal to 0. If the update operation is not successful, then control will directly comes to else condition, and we will display this message: record updation is not successful, right? So basically, we are applying the logs with the help of the standard function module. We are trying to modify the data, and then we are releasing the logs with the standard function module DQ, right? So interview point of view, this is also a one of the interview question wherein they can ask about log objects and what are the standard function modules that that are used while working with the log objects. So NQ and DQ. So these are the two standard function modules to apply logs, and we apply the log, we modify the data, and we release the log, right? So this is the concept of log objects, and in day-to-day purpose, one best example is our net banking. So they use this concept of log objects in the net banking as well. So let's try to execute our program, and let's try to take a vendor number. Whatever the vendor number we give for that particular vendor will be updated. So let us take this vendor number 1. So for this particular vendor, we want to update the data, and city. We want to update the city to some city, and we want to update the county to some county, right? So for the vendor number 1, we want to update this information. So let's try to execute. So record is successfully updated. Now let's go and check at the table level. So this is our table. So let's try to refresh the data and try to select our vendor. So for this particular vendor 1, so the city has been updated to Upper Saddle River, and the district has been updated to Cook County. Right? So whenever we want to update the data from master tables, we can use this approach called log objects, and we can update the data with the help of log objects. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any doubts in this log objects concept?
Yeah, it's clear, but I think we need to practice, then only I'll come to know.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just try to, whenever you find some time,